Good morning and welcome to another episode of Thoughts of a Trillionaire. It's been so long. Procrastination is a huge thing. Frustration is a bigger thing. And lack of resources, or the feeling of, I suppose, hopelessness of doing something over and over and over again, working so hard, but never getting anywhere, never making a difference in the world or in your own life. That's beyond frustration, beyond I don't know, something to deal with. It's utterly discouraging and pretty terrible, to be honest. And what gets me thinking about, a lot of ideas that I want to do, whether it be flubby or hover cars or futuristic cities and stuff like that. All these types of features and ideas and use cases or inventions or innovations or whatever have to deal with empowerment, self-empowerment, and distribution. Have to deal with the ability to open up accessibility to information and resources. Why? Because it's freaking horrible that the vast majority of people on this earth have to go without. The vast majority of people on this earth live life thinking that modern day life is about just trying to get by, just trying to survive. That is ridiculous, and it's something that I truly hate. I don't use that word often. It's because hate requires a certain, I want to say, it's just hate is when you hate something, you really get your blood boiled about it in such a way that you want to change. You have to change it somehow, some way, soon. And as I'm going through my own circumstances and doing my own whatever I have to do, and witnessing the people around me doing what they have to do, I realize that this is one of the biggest pieces of crap in today's modern society. This is one of the biggest limits to humanity right now. Is the ability to is the mindset and the infrastructure, or the lack thereof, that limits people from doing what they really want to do. The fact that our so-called civilization and our so-called advanced society forces the majority of people, or at least a big percentage of people, to struggle every single day just to get by. That's horrible. That's despicable. That's unacceptable. We shouldn't even call ourselves a modern society or a advanced society when literally 25% of children, even in the US, are homeless, technically or otherwise. Meaning, even if they're not literally on the street, they're living in squalor, or they're living in situations where they don't have easy access to healthy food or good education or even support from anybody else. And that's just in the US. In the US, which is technically the 1% of the world. So that is horrible. And so when I look at these problems, and when I look at the world as it is today, I think about how we can solve this problem and how it even came about. I'm not even going to go into all of that because it's going to take way more than 10 minutes to get into. But I do want to, ideate on live for ideas on how to solve this sort of problem. And the problem is, in fact, that there is not enough ways for people to empower themselves. There's not enough ways for people to build wealth. Simple as it is. We call this the gig economy, or the I forgot what the other terms are, but basically where a lot of people can work from home and do remote work and all this, and do freelancing and all this stuff like that. But that doesn't really help the person that's trying to switch from being a truck driver to doing what they really want to do, which is most likely not driving trucks. It doesn't help the person who would usually do factory work to become more skilled, or just to chase the dreams that they really have, or just to figure out what they want to do in the first place, to figure out what passions they have, or what makes them feel alive, or what even is worth their taking the time and the struggle to survive. The problem is that modern life should not be about survival. We're way past that now. It should definitely be about creation, be about living, be about taking one's time and one's struggles, one's skills, one's mind, and being able to actually create something, to give value, to add to the conversation, and to add to the technologies and the advancement of humanity. If not, that doesn't mean like you have to do something big. That means that means you only, really, that means just do what you want to do. Because when people, most of the times, 99 times out of 10, I want to say, when people want to do what they want to do, when people do what they want to do, they end up accomplishing more, way more than when they do what they have to do. When people get to, create their own job, or create their own courses, or create their own life, then they're far more productive and way happier than when they have to follow somebody else's rules and carry out someone else's jobs, and do tasks that someone else set out for them, and carry on with this facade of a society in which we tell people that you have to do this, that, and the other. You have to grow up, go to college, take this desk job, do these scrape and bow to the people above you, to go up the ladder and get a retirement and live that way and stuff like that. But quite quickly as time goes on, we're realizing that none of this even makes sense or even works. Retirement, most of us already know that retirement is a complete farce. It's not even a thing for anybody, really. Even those who set up their own personal retirement plans outside of the government, even those were people that saved up money, realizing that just sitting back for the rest of your life while you're old isn't going to help you. It's only going to make you feel more miserable about your aging bones. And so people always like to keep themselves busy. Humans are not made to work. Humans are simply made to be humans. And that usually means creating something, doing something. I wanted to make that distinction because in a time where automation is coming and everybody's worried about robots taking our jobs and that and universal basic income, blah blah blah, is that people or certain experts or just people who are stuck in the traditionalist ways think that being human means to work, means to get the resources specifically for your family to eat or something like that. But this is not a hunter-gatherer culture anymore, nor is it an agricultural culture, nor is it a pre-industrial or industrial culture. All those were times when we had to do such things. And even then, for with each generation, with each era, that work, that definition of work, became more and more abstracted. In hunter-gathering cultures, it really was to get the food that you were going to eat that night or that the next day. And in agricultural culture, that was to get the food that you were going to eat next season or next year. In industrial, it kind of changed. It went to a more on-demand, where you can you're not even directly getting food or preparing stuff for your family. You're working for somebody else in order for you to earn the wages to then buy the food that you're going to eat tonight. So it's much more abstracted. And now we're at the point where we don't even know exactly what we're doing. We're basing our current standards on the last era, which is why there's a big schism in what people are doing and what people think they have to do. So people think they have to work and get the wages to buy the food, but we've already proven that there's so much food and there's so much availability out there that is actually technically in abundance. There's more than enough food and more than enough resources to feed and house and help everybody. But we're looking backwards so much that we fail to realize that the problem is not in resources, in which we have more than enough, in which we're even wasting because we have so much, but in distribution. The problem is distribution and access to these overabundances of resources, and to to food, water, clothes, housing, anything. The problem is not the resource themselves. The problem is distribution. Whether that be in the U.S. between segregated cities, or they won't tell you segregated, but you can obviously look at the map and see the difference between demographics. But even in the U.S., you see these lack of distribution, where in the whole south side of the city will be all bad schools, and where healthy food will be super expensive, and unhealthy food is 10 times cheaper than healthy food, and so on. And even like water is unhealthy or crap. And that's just in the U.S., which is, again, the 1% of the world. And in other places, like my home country in Haiti, you have the ability to create, all this food and all this riches in the land itself. But there's a distribution, the distribution channel is broken, where people cannot, transport food from one end of the country to another, or education is in itself segregated in such a way where the native tongue is seen as a lower class. And can you imagine that the native tongue is seen as lower class, period? So people instead teach themselves other folks' culture. It's like in the U.S. It's like saying English is just for dumb people, and so we're going to teach everybody French or Chinese, And you end up having this terrible schism of identity and of meaning and of purpose and of direction. So I'm going to go more into actual solutions. I kind of went on a tangent there. So time is ending, but I will continue soon. Bye.